What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Palm City Chucks. We got football. Let's do what we do. Starting with college, we had the Army-Navy game. Not what I
Army-Navy.
expected.
It's what you expected?
No, it's not what I expected.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
No, I agree. That was not what I expected. I expected
not at
Army to
all.
come out on top here.
Yeah, I
They did
mean,
not.
we said it last week, just looking at the Tulane games. It was like
Yeah.
Tulane shut out Navy and then
Yep.
got blown out by Army. I thought that was like a clear connection. Hey, Army's running this style of offense better, so they should win naturally. And I mean, they had the better season going into it, but Navy has their number. They win this game a lot of times in their matchup history. But yeah, still a surprise to me. And yeah, it was a shellacking, 31-13.
No, yeah, Navy absolutely controlled this game. But I guess it's surprising based on how they played. At the same time, though, when these two teams meet, given what this game means to them, a lot of it really does go out the window. A lot
Yeah,
of what happened
I
before,
agree.
it's like it's the first game of a brand new season, and
Oh,
anything
yeah.
that happened before
It's
is
a
irrelevant
Super
for
Bowl,
these
man.
two teams. Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
it really is. But yeah, Navy commanding win.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it made us, like, because they were up so much, we saw some passing from Army. That's wild.
yep,
Navy
I know.
had some passing too. Like, I mean, it's weird. They almost looked like a well-balanced football team.
I don't think we can expect to see that continue on into next year. If
No.
I had to take a wild
No.
guess.
No. Methinks it'll be run heavy.
Yeah, I don't know that will ever change.
No.
Unless some
I hope
stud
it
goes to
doesn't,
play for
honestly.
Army or Navy. Yeah.
Like, I love it. It's refreshing. That's what, like, drew me to Air Force. Like I said in the other episode, I'm an Air Force guy. That wasn't like just because I had to pick one of the three or whatever. Like, I actually liked them when I was a young kid just because I saw that style of offense and was like, whoa. And I
Yeah.
mean, the lightning bolt in the helmet definitely helped a little bit. But
That's fair. I mean, as a little kid, the lightning bolt, I feel like that was definitely the best of the three.
yeah,
Like I said, if I had to pick one of the three, I would also go Air Force, but
good
um,
man.
I'm
We don't
kind of,
agree on a lot. I'll take that.
yeah. Army definitely number three. I'll put it that way. Navy is
Yeah.
a close second to Air Force. Don't
Yeah,
mind Navy
not a
either.
not a close second for me, but yeah, I agree. I like Navy better than Army.
Yeah. So I was okay with the result, but surprising nonetheless.
Right.
Yeah. And before we move on to talk about the playoff games this week, I'd like to talk about the Heisman a little
No, do we have to?
bit. Just a little bit, just a little bit. So it is official. Travis Hunter is your Heisman for this year. Give me your thoughts.
Upset, angry, or those are feelings. Sorry, my thoughts. My thoughts are. I mean, it's not that surprising. We saw it going this way over the last month or so. It was like pretty clear he was going to win this thing, and yeah, I mean, we've talked about it. I don't agree. I think what John T did was amazing, and it wasn't as rare, and I think that's why Hunter won, because we've just never seen a Hunter before to this level of play, and yeah, he's very good at both positions, but is he a Heisman level player at either position? And no. So that's
would
where my
definitely agree
beef
with that.
lies. But yeah, I guess being good at two things is better than being amazing at one. And yeah, I don't vibe with that. What Jonty did was amazing. I mean, he put a much worse overall team on the map. I mean, they're in playoffs. Where's Colorado?
They're getting
Like-
a bye in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't like it. But it is what it is. And I mean, we've talked about it before, and I know you agree. We know which one of these players is going to have a better career in the NFL.
Yeah.
And it's Jonty.
I totally of that mind. I totally agree with you there. To that end, though, I do want to say it was closer than I expected. I don't know if you saw the vote totals,
No, I
but it
didn't.
wasn't a complete blowout for Hunter.
Okay.
It was, the closest Heisman race we've had in a very long time. I forget the actual time frame they gave, but it was like 2,500 to 2,100 votes. And I do want to also take this time to call out, it was either 34, 36, something like that, voters that chose somebody other than Jonty or Hunter to be first place. And I would just like to say I don't think those people should have a right to vote in any further Heisman races.
Yeah.
Like, it is very clearly Jonty or Hunter. There is no other right answer. Respectfully, there is not.
Who did they vote for?
Scatabo got 2, I think. I
Wow.
think Cam Ward got a few, and I forget who the other one was, but it was split between 3 people, and it took away like 34, 36-ish first place votes.
Yeah,
I don't think they
agree.
should ever be able to vote again. Ever.
Yeah, no, that was pretty obvious 1 and 2 there, and
Yep.
in my opinion, a pretty obvious 1, but guess not.
Yeah. The trophy's going to the other guy, so clearly the masses disagree.
Yeah, and I definitely think what he did was amazing. Like, don't get
Mm-hmm.
me wrong. I feel like we give this guy a lot of shit. Like, that is extremely impressive what he did.
Yep.
I'm just not as impressed as all. And, I'm kind of passionate about it. So it may come off across as, nasty to Hunter. But, yeah, I mean, he's a hell of a player in his own right. I just don't agree that he should have won Heisman is all.
I agree. I totally agree. Totally agree. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out in the NFL. Hunter's going to go off the board before Jonty as well.
Which he was going to anyway.
Yeah,
But
positional value.
exactly.
Running backs just shunned. It's kind of taking a bit of a turn recently. Got
Yeah.
Junior Gibbs, Bijan,
That's
quite
true.
a few early round guys.
What
We'll see.
What do you think his position's going to be? You think Hunter's going to play both, or I feel like he's going to be a corner.
In my opinion, Hunter is not an NFL level wide receiver.
Yeah.
If you actually dig into what he did as a wide receiver this past year, he put up okay numbers, obviously. Won the Heisman. It was like 1,150 yards, 8 touchdowns, something like that. And people were saying, still, they were spreading the ball around at Colorado. He could have done more because the wide receiver play was definitely the big knock. I don't think there's honestly much to say about his defensive play that is bad. It was pretty excellent. It really was as a corner. I think he's pretty great as a corner. Wide receiver is really where I start throwing up the question marks. And you got people saying, oh, we needed more targets, blah, blah, blah. This guy got 92 receptions in 1 year as a wide receiver.
Yeah.
College, that never happens. 92 receptions means you were being force-fed the ball. And I don't say that lightly. Literally force-fed the ball.
Yeah. I mean, what's the average per game there? Something gross. I'm not mathing, but
Targets was definitely greater than 10 at that point per game, which is crazy.
Yeah, I agree.
So, personally, when you think about the elite college wide receivers, they're probably grabbing 50 balls, putting up 1,500 yards with those 15 catches and like 13-plus touchdowns. Hunter's 92 catches, only 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns. Seems like if we're really comparing what an elite receiver is in college that translates to the NFL that we see, Hunter is not that in terms of the numbers that he put up. With the opportunities he had, if he's truly elite, especially still playing in a depleted, non-existent Pac-12, whatever conference they played in, I actually forget right now. But you got to do better with those opportunities, in my opinion. So I really question his ability as a wide receiver, but not at all as a corner. So I totally agree. I think he's an NFL corner, not wide receiver.
Yeah, I think that's what he would be best at. But there's other factors at play too. Like if he wants to chase the bag, he probably wants to be a receiver. Now, there are corners out there that make pretty damn close to top-end receiver money. But I think that is a factor at play here, too. What his agent is pushing, what he personally wants to do. Because I don't see him doing both at the NFL level. Like, that would be insane. Now, if he is a corner, it could be like a Patrick Peterson type thing, like where there will be certain packages for him on offense. But yeah, to play every down of a football game other than special teams, like I don't see that.
No, yeah, I totally Totally agree. And I mean, I think he probably has the cardio for it, clearly. The cardio wouldn't be that different from
Cardio
college.
king, man.
Yeah, no,
That's what it is.
I wasn't going to call him that, but you said it, and I agree. He is cardio king. That is why you won the Heisman. That's plain and simple.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, we'll see how it shakes out. I think that the NFL team that drafts him in the first round might be drafting him as a receiver
I'm
first,
thinking that, too.
honestly. And I
Yeah.
think that is going to be a mistake.
Yeah.
But we'll see how it plays out.
We shall.
Let's move on and talk about the teams that are still playing.
Yeah.
The playoffs. They start this weekend.
Yes,
So
sir.
exciting. Our first look at the 12-team playoff. And we got 4 great matchups this weekend. Great might be a bit of a stretch for a few. Honestly, there's a few in here that are... Well, I bet there's going to be a lot of questions asked about the playoff format after this year, given some of these matchups. But,
Right.
maybe all it takes is one of those teams to surprise, and there's no questions asked.
It's true.
But let's talk about the first one. Ohio State, Tennessee. The winner will take on Oregon in the next round. Who you got there? Ohio State, Tennessee.
So I definitely want Tennessee, and I'm sure you do too.
Yeah.
I think this is very possible. I think this is the best game that we're going to get this weekend.
I agree.
That being said, I do think Ohio State's going to win it.
I am of the exact same opinion. I want Tennessee to win this game so badly. So badly.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not outside the realm of possibilities.
Not at
It's
all.
not.
Not at all.
But I think Ohio State just has a fire under their ass right now after that
Oh,
bad
definitely.
taste they've got in their mouth from that loss to Michigan. And while they may lose at some point in this playoff, I do not think it comes in this first round
Yeah,
against
one
Tennessee.
and done. Yeah, I don't see it.
Yep.
Another thing, too, that helped me decide was Tennessee has had moments this year where they just were not clicking. They didn't look right.
Yeah.
Like, Ohio State has been pretty damn good the entire year. And then you get the Michigan game, which is much like the Army-Navy game we just discussed.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost, it doesn't matter what your season was. It doesn't matter what's going on. Like, this is a higher power at play here. Like,
I mean, that was made very clear this year with Michigan being garbage.
Oh, yes.
And Ohio State, a
Yep.
$20 million team.
right. But, like, to that point,
Yeah.
I'm not going to hold that game against Ohio State. I'm not going to say they're not as good as we thought. I'm not going to say any of that. They are still an excellent team, and that was really their only hiccup. I mean, the Oregon game was a shootout. I mean, they were right there. So, yeah, that's what really helped me decide. But, yeah, really hoping it goes the other way. SEC school coming out on top. Come on, baby. But, yeah, I don't
I
see
will
it
say
happening.
there is like a 0.1% part of me that wants Ohio State to win solely for Big Ten over SEC.
Yeah, that is
It's
completely
like
normal.
but it's like 0.1%.
Don't beat yourself up there. Yeah,
No, it's like
I do that all the time. I mean, my version is basically Florida. Like, I'm never gonna.
Yeah.
I don't care what Big Ten school they're playing. Like, no. But
Yeah.
I still have that 1% that you're talking about there.
Yep. But I really just don't need my Ohio State friends to have anything to hold over me, so Tennessee, please prove us wrong. Please come
Yes.
out and kill
Go
them.
Vols.
45-7. I don't care.
That would be dope.
Run them into the ground.
Although this should be the closest game, so
Yes.
that would be a
You know
little
what, though?
weird. But crazy stuff happens.
Crazy stuff happens. I mean, Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame earlier this year, man.
Yeah.
And finished almost last in the MAC. So,
It's
yeah.
crazy. I remember
Crazy
we were
things
talking
happen.
about their path to the playoff after that.
Yeah.
game.
I mean, they had a genuine path.
They
If
did.
they could beat teams like Notre Dame, why not beat the MAC teams? But they showed us that was a miracle and a half plus 7 more. But
Yeah, right.
but anyways, let's move on to game 2. Texas Clemson. The winner will move on to take on Arizona State.
Lucky
I got
winner.
Texas here. Yeah, the lucky winner for sure. I got Texas here. Clemson hasn't looked convincing most of this year. They were lucky to make it into the ACC championship.
Yep.
I think they got fortunate to win that.
Yep.
So I don't buy Clemson this year. And while I'm not huge on Texas either. They had a pretty light first year in the SEC overall. Yes. Georgia really being their only matchup there. Sure, beat them first time around, but then when it came down to championships Saturday, Georgia goes ahead and takes that game. But still, in this game, Texas over Clemson, wouldn't be super surprised, though, if Texas drops this game or if they win to Arizona State University. I really question them, and they're certainly not a team I've got going deep into this.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think Texas takes this one. They're the much better team. But yeah, you had some valid points there. Texas, only Georgia was their problem this year, and they lost both games against Georgia. And other than that, they didn't really play any other beasts in the SEC. So yeah, it was a light schedule. That being said, I still think they have a much better all-around team than Clemson. And they should definitely take this one. I will definitely be surprised if Clemson comes out on top.
Yeah, I agree. And yes, thank you for the correction. Georgia did beat Texas both times.
Yeah.
Texas did not win that first game. Move on to game 3. Notre Dame, Indiana. Winner will then move on to take on Georgia. Lucky winner here. Not sarcastically at all. I got Notre Dame. I mean, Indiana, great year for them. Probably the best year they've ever had at their football program, maybe. Congrats. You made it.
Yeah.
Go play your game. Make some money. Go sit at home the rest of the playoffs.
Yeah.
This is, honestly, in my opinion, I think this game is the most lopsided.
Really?
Really. Really. Including the game we will talk about next.
Yeah, that's surprising. I disagree. I think this is probably the second closest behind Ohio State, Tennessee. I wouldn't be that surprised if Notre Dame drops it. I do have them winning it, however. But, yeah, I don't think that would surprise me much at all. I mean, Indiana's looked great. They've another team that didn't really have the toughest schedule in the world. But, it's their miracle season. I mean, they put it all together. They're somewhere where you'd never expect them to be. But to that point, they could be complacent with with how far they've already made it, drop it, get embarrassed. Who cares? We already won the season. Or they could just keep riding this miracle wave and, pull an upset.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll find out. I mean, I just feel like I'd be more surprised if Indiana beat Notre Dame than I would Clemson beats Texas. I would buy an argument for SMU Penn State, but I think just me being a Penn State guy and going through it so many times with them, it wouldn't be surprising to me. But let's move on to that game. Penn State SMU. Penn State's got the home game at Happy Valley. It's going to be cold as hell.
Exactly.
So that is an advantage, definitely, against SMU, no doubt.
Yep.
I got Penn State winning this. Respectfully, this is weird saying it because it is the playoffs, but Penn State should 100% win their next 2 games.
Yes.
Like this is like one of the games you see on the schedule that's not Michigan or Ohio State, and you're like, oh, that's probably a win. Like, that is the vibe that these next 2 games should be.
Yep. And I'm sure they'll be favored in both. Probably handsomely.
I hope so. They should be. I mean, they are definitively the better team. But we'll see what happens. I mean, Penn State's got their backup quarterback, Bo Prabula, just entered the transfer portal. Weird timing right before the playoff, especially when he is actually getting into pretty much every game. Like, he's kind of a Justin Fields-esque, just to use a Pennsylvania reference there. They've got packages for Bo where he comes into basically every game, runs the ball a few times, throws it every once in a blue moon.
Yeah. Keep it spicy.
I'm a little bit surprised about that, and like I said, that's a guy that was consistently getting into each game, so that's something we won't be able to deploy in these playoffs, but
Yeah.
it's something we've been doing all year. So that's a little weird and a little bit concerning, but
Yeah, he just.
Either way.
Some guys they just can't wait that extra year.
yeah.
Like that's. I think that's what's going on here. He wants a chance to start next year. So
Well, Drew is staying.
right,
So
that's why I'm
I
saying.
understand the decision. I
Right.
get it. I really do. It just sucks, and I think there's a bigger conversation to be had about transfer portal timing, forcing these kids to make this decision before the playoffs are over. I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't looked into it to check if that is the case, but I'd assume if he had the opportunity to finish out the playoff and then declare to the transfer portal, he would have.
Right. Yeah. Why would he? There probably
yeah.
is a deadline. Like you said, I personally don't know. But yeah, it would be really weird if there isn't a deadline and he still chose to do that before their playoff game. But I don't know. People do weird shit.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But still, if that is the case, I think there's a bigger conversation to be had about letting these kids declare for the transfer portal after the playoffs end. Like, come on, guys. Common sense to me.
Yeah. Not like this isn't going to be end of the world stuff at all. But,
Yeah.
I mean, it's still like you don't want that going on in your locker room right now before a playoff game. Yeah, so boneheaded move by him if there is no deadline, but yeah, give him the benefit of the doubt for now. Assume there is.
Yeah, assume it. Yeah. I mean, so I guess Penn State or SMU. Never said. I can assume based on the fact you consider it the most lopsided.
Yes.
Unless you got SMU on the the good lopsided end.
No, I do not. Yeah, I mean, I said it last week. I mean, Penn State really, really impressed me with their game against Oregon. At the same time, I mean, their defense, which I would have thought that's their strong suit. That's their better half, and they dropped the ball. So I'm expecting a bounce back performance from them. The offense was cruising against Oregon. I can't imagine SMU has a much better defense than Oregon, if at all. So, yeah, I mean, I just think they're a much better team. I didn't even like that SMU got in, but at the same time I did. So conflicting. I just hate Clemson for winning, basically, is where I fell on it. But, yeah, I think Penn State's much better. They should have no problems this week. And I do agree they should also be able to beat Boise.
Yeah, but we'll talk about those games next week.
We don't want to jump to conclusions here.
Yeah. We don't need to jinx Penn State into a loss, and then I cry forever. But
crying on the pod.
Yeah, but the bright side being, if Penn State loses one of the next two games, I think that should give the license to Penn State to fire James. They won't, but it should give them the license to.
Yeah.
Maybe make it a media talking point, at least float around, get me excited a little bit, but it won't happen. It's fine.
No. You're not that lucky, bud.
I know. Tell me about it. Speaking of luck, let's transition to the NFL, and let's start off with my Lions.
Okay, I thought we were going to talk about Andrew Luck.
Hey, I'll talk about Andrew Luck anytime, guy. He was a baller.
Yeah.
Sad to see his career end so early. But on the topic of luck, or more so for the Lions, unlucky.
Yes.
The opposite of luck.
Yes.
dropped their game this week to the Bills in a very high-scoring affair. In fact, the highest-scoring game of the year, 48-42 to the Bills. Second only to the Bills game last week against the Rams.
Yeah. That's crazy.
We had over 1,000 yards put up in this game. Jared Goff threw for over 500. Josh Allen threw for like 450 plus. I mean, the offenses were cooking in this game, to say the least. The real difference in this game being the Lions offense took about a quarter-ish, maybe a little bit less, to get going, and that ended up being the difference in the game. We had a very, very Dan Campbell moment in the fourth quarter. 12 minutes left in the fourth. Down 3 possessions, just scored to make it 2. What do we do? 12 minutes left in the fourth. Onside kick. I mean, I guess I get what you're thinking. Like, oh, we haven't stopped them all game, blah, 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 blah. But at that point, you gotta kick the ball off, dude.
Yeah, you're not at that point of desperation yet.
No,
That's
you were not
crazy.
that desperate yet. Because if they recover, they're one play away from field goal range.
Yeah.
I mean, in this
Well,
case,
and what
they recovered
happened?
it and returned it to the
Yeah,
freaking five.
exactly.
Like, and literally that touchdown we just scored to catch back up a little bit.
Yeah, it was
went
nothing.
right away, inconsequential.
Yep.
So that sucked. But offense cooked. Great. To be expected. Defense got absolutely run through, and it's been a bit of concern the past few weeks, been on a downtrend. This week was just an exclamation point because we came out with even more injuries, and not just more injuries, but more key injuries. I'm going to go off a little bit here just about the injuries the Lions are facing, right? Because the reality is, with these injuries, I'm going to make a concession here on this episode of the pod. I do not think the Lions are any longer the team best positioned to go and win a Super Bowl. I think their list of defensive injuries is becoming untenable. You just can't go win a Super Bowl with their injury list, which I'll get to. I think they can still beat teams because they can score at will. They did it against they put up 42 points. I mean, come on.
You should win
they
a
can't
game
score at will.
with that.
So, yeah, exactly. So they're going to go out there and they're going to score. But the teams that also have a very good offense, because of how our defense has been playing, might be able to outscore us. And I just feel in a playoff run with the best teams of the year, eventually we'll probably run into one of those.
Yeah. I feel like your best chances now, home field is advantage, is a must now for the Lions. Like, you said it, the defense is really in a bad place right now. They're banged up bad. And, you need anything to give you the edge now. Because you said it, I mean, you're literally getting in a position where your offense needs to score, every drive for you to win a game. Because, the defense is becoming Swiss cheese. Which is a shame, because it is caused by injury, and you hate to see that. You want to see best on best, and unfortunately in the NFL, a lot of times we don't get that due to injuries. But
let me go on with what these injuries are to really put it in perspective. It's quite literally ridiculous. We have now lost our number one guy at 4 out of the 5 positional categories on defense, possibly 5 out of 5, depending on how you look at it. So for the first 4, D-tackle, Aleem McNeil, went down, torn ACL this past weekend. He's done.
Duh.
Before the year even started, lost John Kaminsky. So we were already weak there to start. So that's great. Already lost Bugsy, too. That's another one, another D-tackle down. Hutch, he's done. Maybe back if we get to the MSU Championship or the Super Bowl. But do you even really want to do that? Questionable.
Yeah.
Then you've got Alex Anzalone and Malcolm Rodriguez at the linebacker spot. At the corner spot, you just had Carlton Davis break his jaw. Just had Khalil Dorsey tear up his ankle. And then you get to the safety spot, which is the best. I mean, we've been starting the same two the whole year, Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. But Ifeatu Melifonwu is actually the other starting safety beside Brian Branch, but he's been out the whole year. So all 5 main defensive positional categories, our number one option is out.
Yeah, that's
all
brutal.
And behind them, so much depth also gone.
Yeah.
We are playing with so many practice squad guys right now on the team. It's really painful to see because this season really did have a lot of promise, and I'm not saying by no means is it over. I mean,
no. I was just gonna say, to your credit,
it is not.
A lot of those injuries were. I mean, you've been dealing with them for weeks or the whole season. Yes, there are some new ones, but I mean, dude, you got 2 losses.
I know.
Yeah.
I think last weekend losing both Carlton Davis and Aleem McNeil was the only guy besides the newly acquired Zadarius Smith who was also really getting pressure on the quarterback, because that's become the Lions' real problem.
Right.
We can't get pressure on the quarterback. Like, Josh Allen could sit back there and do whatever he wanted to do.
Yeah,
that's why
that's
he
a
played
scary
so
thing.
well,
Yeah.
because we could not get there and put any pressure on him. So to lose those two, I think, is really the nail in the coffin on the defense there. Add on top of that, you got Knuckles going down with a sprained MCL, possibly done for the year as well. So now we're running with just Sonic, which is totally fine. Love Jahmyr Gibbs, but our offense is made to have a super athletic freak back, Jahmyr Gibbs, and a pounder, David Montgomery.
Yep.
I mean, and we've got Craig Reynolds, hey, local guy from Kutztown back home, shout out.
Yeah.
Who can probably come in and fill that void serviceably, especially with how good the rest of our offense is. But is he going to be able to provide what David Montgomery could provide? No, he is not, and that's not a discredit to him. That's just David Montgomery is really freaking good.
Yeah, he's not Shadow or whatever.
Yeah,
Another Sonic character.
The good news is the rest of the Lions' schedule is pretty nice. Bears, Niners, and then Vikings. And yes, I still do not fear the Vikings in a Lions v. Vikings matchup. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I just had to rant there a little bit. It is definitely upsetting, but we're still, as you said, 12-2. And Dan Campbell is our leader, and he brought us from nothing to this. So there's absolutely still a chance, but it's starting to get bleaker.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you said it at the start. And I agree. I don't think they're favorites to make the Super Bowl anymore. But they definitely could. To wrap it up, I mean, they definitely still could.
Yeah. Totally agree. We'll see what happens. I mean, I hope they do, obviously. But with that, let's move on to your favorite team here, the Eagles game, the Battle of Pennsylvania, Eagles Steelers.
We did it. 27-13, pretty comfortable win again. It was all about passing. Had to appease AJ Brown, had to appease the fans, all that good stuff, which kind of annoys me. I don't know how you feel about it. But, I think if I was game planning, I would have went the opposite direction. You want us to pass?
Agree.
Guess what? Another Saquon game.
And one thing I really didn't like, sorry to butt in here, is his post game. I don't know if you saw Jalen Hurts' opener to his interview. Oh, that's what y'all wanted to see, huh? God, that guy's becoming way too Philly for my liking, and he's just giving me another reason to hate him even more.
He gets
that is
so much hate, though. Yeah. So much hate. I don't get it.
So.
I don't think it is just. I really don't.
He's not. The problem is, and it's not even his own fault. I'll start with that. It is not his own fault, but he had that one really good year, and that is where people set the expectation bar for him. And I think we've talked about this a little bit before. He had that one good year, and that is what people expected from him, because I think it was his second year. He's like, this is his jump. This is who he really is. And he has never been anything even close to that again, and he's not meeting people's expectations anymore.
Yes, but he also doesn't need to be. And that year, it was fringe, does he need to be? I mean, the Eagles are stacked. We really just are. The offense is stacked. We don't need a superstar at quarterback. You need a guy not turning it over. Which, I mean, we had 2 turnovers almost immediately in this game. Defense managed to hold them to only 3 points, so we survived it. But yeah, that is the key factor for the Eagles. If we protect the ball, odds are we're going to be in a really good spot to win, and that's most teams. But yeah, the team is stacked. To get back on the Hurts thing, he doesn't need to be Superman. He just doesn't. So yeah, I think that definitely is a factor in why he doesn't look anything like second-year Hurts, because he didn't know that yet. And like I said, he probably didn't have to be Superman then, but he wanted to be. He's young. He doesn't really know his spot in the league yet and all that, and he's just trying to play his best ball. But yeah, now I think he's matured and he understands that, hey, and even this year he had to learn the lesson again. And that's the thing with Hurts. Every year he is still learning. He is not, set in his mind yet, like on what he needs to be for this team to succeed. And I think he might finally be getting there by just realizing, hey, if I take care of the ball and I just dumb it down and play good ball, we can win the majority of our games. I mean, you look at his record as a starter for the Eagles, it's phenomenal. And yeah, it is his record. Even though it is obviously the Eagles team itself helping him and elevating him to this point. But I mean, he's perfect for us because he's getting the job done. And that is what it is. Now you could argue you could take frickin' 20 quarterbacks in the league and put them on the Eagles team. They're going to be really good. And that is a fair argument, but we're not living in that reality. It hurts,
Okay.
and he's doing the job. So I don't understand
Yes.
all the hate he gets. And that
The contract, is he worth that much? Like, I get the NFL quarterback contract market is inflated there. Don't
right.
get me wrong.
It's
I
not
totally
even
understand that.
It's not a bad contract anymore. Like, and we knew that when we signed it. Like, and Howie we trust, brother. Like, this guy is way ahead of the curve on almost any deal he makes. It's really not a bad contract.
I'd say for what the output that you're getting, it maybe doesn't line up. It's not the worst quarterback contract out there, but you know how Philly sports are, man. Like they're ruthless, and I don't think, like you said, you're winning games, and that is all fine and good and awesome. But I don't think you're getting value for what you're paying him out of the quarterback position, personally. So I
Yeah,
can understand where
I
people are
disagree.
coming from.
I disagree, though. I mean, there's a freaking list of quarterbacks that are paid more than him, and it's just going to continue to grow over the next few years. Like, this contract is very friendly 2 years from now. It really is. And
I
at
see,
that
but
point,
when-
we
but when
have
you
him
say-
for 3 more.
But when you say there's 20 other quarterbacks we can plug in here and be just as good, I think that softens that argument. I mean, you can go and get a guy who will be making less than Jalen by that.
I don't know if I said just as good, and I may have, but I will retract that. We will be good with 20
Yeah.
other quarterbacks. It clearly is working. It has his whole career. Like, I don't want to go away from that. And because of the team that surrounds him, we're inflating his stats. We're making him look better. Like, a team would pay him, and then you lose him. And we weren't willing to do that, and I don't disagree with it. It's a winning formula. Our record is amazing since he's been our starter. Like, why would you let that walk away? And to get that and pay him as, the sixth most highest paid at this moment? Like, I love that. That is perfectly fine with me. And like I said, in 2 years, he's going to be the frickin' 10th highest paid. Maybe worse. Like, it's really not a bad deal.
We'll see. I agree to disagree. I feel like money could have gone elsewhere just because, like, I get where you're coming from. Him as your starter is a successful formula.
Yeah, it's just
but
something
at some
you can't
point
walk
you've
away
got to
from.
have that's fair, but that's not really the crux of what I'm getting at. It's just I think you could get more out of your quarterback position with somebody else for the same amount of money. And I'm not saying that Jalen Hurts on the Eagles specifically isn't working,
Right.
but I'm saying
But we
I
don't
understand
need
the
that
hate.
Either. That's my
sure.
other thing.
I don't disagree with that. I'm talking strictly money paid per
To
output,
outcome. Yeah,
and
I get
how
it.
much is he the catalyst that creates those outcomes. And I don't think that those two variables add up to the number that you are paying him straight up. Whether that works for the Eagles, irrelevant to what I'm saying. But I understand where you're coming from as well. It's a working formula for the Eagles, but I can understand why people might be like, he himself is not making the difference that is worth 40 whatever he's making million a year.
That's fair.
Yeah,
That's fair.
I mean,
We can let it rest there.
yeah. Yeah, let's. You got anything else to say about the Eagles Steelers?
Not really. I mean, just another game where I'm really impressed with the overall team. The defense got the job done. Steelers offense been pretty impressive this year. They were without Pickens. But yeah, I don't think it really would have mattered. Our corner's been locked down. So yeah, I just happy with the defense, happy with the offense. Not happy with the turnovers, but like I said, defense managed to only give up 3 points off of them, and defense forced some turnovers of their own. So, yeah, just really happy with how we're rolling right now. Just want to keep it going. I'm glad we got past this post AJ Brown drama game, and I just want to get back on track and keep winning games.
Yeah, that's what I hope for the Lions too. Good news is Lions win out. Doesn't matter. The Eagles and the Vikings are staying behind. That will not change if the Lions win out. So destiny's still in their hands, but you are on our heels. That is for sure. But let's talk about the Thursday night game, Rams-Niners. My goodness,
Ew.
what a switch-up this was for the Rams compared to their last game. Put up 44 points against the Bills to go and put up 12 points through, I think it was 4 field goals against the 49ers. I mean, that is wild.
Dude, freaking division games. They always amaze me one way or another. And yeah, this was crazy. And even on the flip side, Niners scored like 38 or something crazy against the Bears the week before. Like these were two teams coming in with scorching hot offenses. I know we had some weather here. There was rain and perhaps wind. I don't know. But yeah, apparently it was enough to just kill these hot offenses. We had Cooper Kupp go without a reception in this game, which is crazy, and to boot only 3 targets, which is also crazy. But yeah,
Puka went off though.
Puka's amazing. But yeah, the Rams managed to pull off the dub, so I'm happy about it.
Yeah. No, I agree. 49ers playoff chances are officially looking bleak. It's getting tough for them. Yeah, it is getting tough for them. And like I said, they got the Lions next week, so they got some tough games on the rest of their schedule.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, good for Matt Stafford, good for the Rams. I like seeing Matt win. Always will.
Yeah.
So happy for him, and they're making a real push for not just the playoffs, but also the NFC West. So
They are. I mean, you had them come out on top, and Seahawks drop one. It's getting spicy.
One, and Geno got hurt. So
That's true.
So, yeah, I want to talk about Chiefs-Browns a little bit briefly, just to talk about the quarterbacks on both teams. Chiefs, obviously they came out on top here, surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
But Patrick Mahomes does not play most of the fourth quarter with a high ankle sprain. Big news there. We've seen this before.
We have.
Patrick Mahomes with a high ankle sprain. What does he do?
He gets high as hell and then wins football games.
Yeah.
In that order.
And then goes and runs around on the football field too, on the ankle sprain, like a madman. Yep.
Like a high
I happen to
man.
remember one play pretty vividly from that Super Bowl where he just took off. But I won't make you go down memory lane there. Chiefs
Too
Super
late.
Bowl win over the Eagles. But yeah.
Stop it! I know what you're saying.
I just needed to really bring it home. And then on the Browns side, we got Jameis starting maybe his last game for the Browns.
What are they doing?
Which is surprising.
What are
exactly.
they doing? The people want
DTR.
Jameis.
DTR, they know, is not capable of going out there and winning them games. Like, they know that can't happen. Jameis, that is at least a real possibility. Sure, he might also be the reason you lose a game,
Definitely.
but he also actually gives you a chance to win.
Right. It's a gamble
You know what they're
have
doing?
to take. They're embracing
they're
the
doing?
tank.
They're
Is
tanking.
what they're
Yes,
doing.
exactly. They're
Yeah.
tanking. That is what's happening right now.
That is a sure sign of tankage. They're licking their chops, looking at the draft board already. Big
Yep.
eyes. Yeah, it's terrible. I hate it. Stop tanking. And the people want Jameis.
The people
There's
do
going to
want
be a
Jameis.
riot,
Come on.
dude. We all want Jameis.
Yeah.
We just
I
love
mean,
his
he is a hoot.
unpredictability. Like, he's just... My gosh,
is
this guy's
the
awesome.
Least fearful quarterback in the NFL. That guy will try and make any throw.
Oh,
Quad
yeah.
coverage doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
Let it fly.
Yeah. Like, oh, I could throw that in a coffee mug 50 yards out.
No, they got to play Jameis, man. Come on. I mean, he's just, especially if he might be your starting quarterback this year, looking unlikely they'll probably draft a quarterback. But as you and I have said before, please sit them a year. Please.
I was just going to say, dude, like, Browns drafting a quarterback. I'm so sick of saying that sentence. I've said it probably 12 times in my short life. It's ridiculous.
It is. It is. And Jameis wants to stay. Like, let the guy sit a year, whoever you draft. I mean, he's building up great rapport with Judy. Judy's been going off.
In the Browns' defense, do you really want him as a mentor? You're going to get, when your rookie finally gets a chance, he's going to have 3 pick games and then the occasional 4-touchdown, 400-yard performance.
Well, I think there's value in learning what not to do as well.
Yes, well put. No, yeah, either way, I agree they should sit behind him, but saw an opportunity for a funny there because, yeah, him as a teacher is a pretty funny concept.
Yeah, no, I do agree. But anyways, let's move on to another game. Let's talk about Dolphins-Texans, a game both of us got wrong here. Thought the Dolphins were going to come out on top, and man, Houston just shut them down. 2012. That is not what I expected. I'll tell you that. Houston's defense really surprised me there. I mean, Waddle getting hurt early, very early, certainly helped their case. They were able to focus in on Tyreek Hill a little bit more. Really, the only person to do damage was Jonnu Smith, becoming quite a common theme for the back half of this NFL season. Jonnu Smith going off.
The only guy who's rivaled him the last 8 weeks is Bowers. Other than that, it's him, far and away. But yeah, this game, I'm pissed, dude. I have to say, not to make it about our game picks and shit, but I have to be 0 for 4 this year on circling a team, crossing it out, and then circling the other team. And this was one of them. 0 for 4. Am I going to learn my lesson here? But yeah, it's just ridiculous.
I hope not.
Yeah, I'd probably not. But back to the game, we saw Tua really struggle.
Oh, yes.
3 picks, and, they had a chance at the end of the game. They had that drive, down 8, chance to, tie, force OT, and first play, he throws a pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's rare to see that. It's rare to say that because, I mean, we saw the difference when this team has Tua and when they don't. And usually he is not the guy who, causes the L. But yeah, I have to say, I think this one falls on him. Defense played good enough. 20, that's nothing crazy. You'd think their offense can overcome that. And yeah, he just really stopped them from doing that with all the turnovers. One was on a drive where they were on Texans 30, I want to say. So they were cruising for one of them. And then the other 2 were on their own end, but one almost became a return pick 6. To really set up Texans there. But yeah, just rough game for Tua.
Yeah. No, the Dolphins also another team that are starting to put themselves in must-win scenarios.
Yes. And guess who plays this week? Dolphins-Niners.
That's one team. Playoff hopes will end. One still has a bit. We'll have a bit
shred.
Of light.
A little shred.
Not a lot, but a little. So that's going to be a fun game. That is going to be a fun game.
And, that one's really funny to me, too. Not to jump ahead to next week too early, but going into the season, if we were to see this game on the schedule, we'd be like, oh, that's going to be an awesome game. We got 2 10-win teams duking it out. And it's it should be an awesome game, but both have 8 losses.
Yep. It's crazy town.
It is.
I do want to briefly also touch on Ravens-Giants, just mostly for Lamar. I mean, the guy went off. And this was a game where, if you truly believe Lamar is a great passer, this is a game you will point to as an example.
Yeah, a lot of deep balls, very accurate.
5 touchdowns, did not run a lot, but their offense ran smooth with him as a passer in this game against a respectable Giants defense.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong.
That's true. They're not terrible. Another team that totally embraced tankage.
Yes.
But yeah,
I mean, when you skip over your backup quarterback to go and start your third string,
yeah,
I think there's something going on there.
right,
If I had to guess.
little fishy.
Yeah.
But he actually looked better than Locke when they did end up playing Locke.
I do agree. I agree with that, but doing that right away,
Yeah.
come on.
Oh,
There's something
yeah.
fishy there. If DeVito's
Yeah.
your 2, list him as your 2 on your depth chart.
Exactly. But yeah, Ravens looked really good. Like you said, he was very accurate. Had some big plays.
Bateman.
And his legs got involved too. It was his game. I mean, you look
Yeah.
at Henry's stat line, not really there. It was Lamar and the receivers and Mark Andrews. But yeah, it was a really good Lamar game. And like you said, Giants, not a terrible defense. So, to put up 35, still pretty good. And yeah, I mean, we know what the Ravens are. On the right day, they can be really scary.
Yep. Totally agree. But to wrap up last week, let's talk about the 2 Monday night games that we had. It was a doubleheader on Monday. NFL,
Yeah.
this is a shout out to you. Please do a better job staggering the start
Yes,
times in the
thank
future.
you.
We can't have these
30
just-
minutes?
Yeah, come on.
They
man.
ended at like the same second.
At least give us an hour. At least an hour.
Yeah.
Probably an hour and a half, because then maybe you got a game starting when the first one goes to halftime or close to it.
Yeah.
Like 30 minutes is unacceptable. Please do better. But let's start with the game that started first. Vikings-Bears. I mean, the Bears look in shambles. They really do. The Vikings commanded this game from start to finish. It was never a question. I was very wrong. Bears did not have a chance to win this game. They really did not. Darnold looked pretty all right. Jefferson, a very uncharacteristic drop. I don't know if you saw that, but he dropped a probably would have been touchdown. So that was interesting to see.
Yeah.
Didn't know that he was human and capable of that. So that reminded me. But Vikings looked really good. But I think that's more so because the Bears looked really, really bad and continue to struggle.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams continues to struggle. He is, every once in a blue moon, he has a great game that shows maybe what he can be on a more consistent team. But most of the time this year, he has been on the struggle bus. And this was certainly one of those games. They could not get anything going.
Yeah, it's bad. It really is. And I talked to you about it before, but like, he takes care of the ball well. And it's still garbage. Like, imagine if he was pulling Winston games and stuff. Like, the Bears losing 30-12 is nothing. They would lose by 40.
Yep.
But yeah, he takes care of the ball so well, yet can't generate any offense. And maybe he is taking care of the ball so well because they are like king of 3 and out. Like, the amount of 3 and outs this team goes through, they put their defense in the worst spots imaginable. And lucky for them, they have a good defense, which is why I think we've seen so many close games and close losses that, I mean, they all fell that way in the Bears' defense. I mean, you're looking at 3-4 potential more wins on this team this year. But, yeah, even said, like, it's just, like you said it, man, Williams probably has, like, 3 good games, like, that get you excited for the future.
Yep.
Other than that, it's a disaster out there. Completion percentage is rough. Decision making, not getting rid of the ball, taking sacks. I mean, he's a rookie.
I will say, I hadn't super closely watched a ton of Bears games this year, especially after they started going on their downturn and not looking like a threat like they possibly
once they became tough to watch.
Yeah. But I this being on Monday, I really watched this one closely. I watched this one more than the Falcons-Raiders game we'll talk about next. And my goodness, he was missing so many reads. Like, I really wanted to give a lot of credit to him and maybe put a lot of it on the coaches, but if it's consistent with what I saw this past Monday, he was making a lot of the mistakes. A true rookie. So I think he might be a little farther behind than where we thought when he was coming into the league and maybe doesn't have quite as high of a ceiling because it was bad. It
Yeah,
was like middle of the field open receivers just being completely missed. A lot of them on third downs where you can't be making those kind of mistakes and taking sacks or coming up short trying to run it when you had an open guy 5 yards past the first down line. Just can't be happening.
Yeah, I think you're on to something there. I mean, we saw him go through an OC, saw him go through a head coach now. Like, that coach excuse is going away. You got an offense with DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift. Like, it's all there, man. Like, he has the weapons. O-line is garbage. But
I agree with that. Yep.
That's like his last excuse at this point. And the biggest excuse of all, he's a rookie. Yeah. It's not time to hit the panic button yet. But
absolutely not.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is that I think there's just so much room to grow. I think we're going to see some iffy games next year. Like, I think he's just that far away from being what we think he was going to be or what he should be.
I agree.
It's going to take a few years, I think.
I think the best way to describe it is he is behind where we thought he was in the learning curve when coming into the league, and he's going to take a few more years to develop than expected. He's certainly not going to be this come into the league sensation that many expected.
Right. Yeah, that's Bo Nix.
Yeah, that is Bo Nix, which I did not expect that. Good for him.
I mean, I had him as the third best quarterback coming out, Bo Nix. I definitely had him ahead of guys that went ahead of him.
I agree with that.
And he was older, too. Played a while in college. But, yeah, I think we're seeing that just another way to see quarterbacks learning, whether it be in college or as a backup in the NFL. It really can pay off. And, yeah, Caleb Williams is not going to have that luxury. He will be starter next year and the foreseeable future. So he needs to kind of figure it out on the fly. And, yeah, with what I've seen this year, I think next year there's still going to be some growing pains.
Totally agree. Let's move on to the second Monday night game, Falcons-Raiders. And the big storyline here, 15-9 Falcons win, gross product on the field. What do the Falcons do?
Yeah.
They pull the trigger and they bench Kirk for Michael Penix. We talked about one quarterback switch earlier, both agreeing that is the wrong decision. I'd like to hear, how do you feel about this quarterback change at this moment in the season?
I'm very surprised. Yeah, it's extremely surprising. I mean, this team, even with as bad as they've looked, they're still right there in the NFC South. They could win the division, man. It's crazy that they are now turning the keys to a rookie when you have Kirk Cousins, who, for the record, has played terrible. That's why they're doing this. But at the same time, it's a guy who's done it before. He's made playoffs. He's won playoff games. And, you know, he was the guy all year building chemistry with the team and everything else. And I think it's a really risky move because, you know, Penix is... I think he's very good, and I think he's another quarterback that came out this year that was more NFL ready than others. But that being said, there's going to be growing pains. Like, he's going to learn on the fly. Pretty sure they have a nice matchup this week. I wonder if that has anything to do with it. I want to say it was Giants, but
we'll get to it.
We will get there. But yeah, it was definitely surprising. And at this point in the season, what this season could mean for the Falcons, I mean, I'm just very surprised.
No, I agree. It just, to me, at this point in the season, going into Week 16 to make this change makes absolutely no sense to me. If you wanted to do this 5-6 weeks ago after Kirk was terrible for a few weeks in a row, okay, you got like at least half of the year to get your new quarterback into the, caught up and start building chemistry like you said the Kirk had done. But to do it now with 3 games left in the season, coming off a win, like you have a genuine chance to make the playoffs and win the division, it just doesn't make any sense to me. It really does not. And I just want to add, you and I are on the opposite side here on Penix. I don't see it with Penix. I don't. And I think Penix. He is going to get hurt. His injury record is just not great. It's really not. So I just don't think he's a long-term guy. But we'll see.
I did peek ahead. They do play the Giants. Do you think that has anything to do with this decision?
I mean, you're going to make the change this week. You can't go back to Kirk.
Right.
You
That's
can't
kind of what I was
do
thinking
that.
too.
So,
Unless it's a complete catastrophe.
in
But-
which case, does Kirk? Do you even want to start Kirk? Do you think Kirk's going to be in the right mindset at that point, like to come back and be like,
that's true.
like I think
mean,
at this
yeah,
point
and
you
they're-
have made your decision. Like
Right,
Michael
and-
Penix is starting these last
Yeah.
3 games, no matter if he is 1 for 20 for 6 yards. Like,
Makes and it's a major decision. Like they just paid Kirk a lot of money.
a lot of money.
A lot of money. And now what does this mean for next year? Say Penix
Yep.
does get the job. Hell, say they win the South with Penix. Do you ever go back to Kirk? And you
can't.
just spend all that money? Because, yeah, you're right, you can't.
It's got to be dead
So
money. It's
them-
unfortunate, but he's about to be
Right.
your most expensive backup.
Yeah.
And then you cut him when the guaranteed years are done.
Yep.
Like, or depending on how the contract is structured, if like it's a guarantee up front, but then some unguaranteed each year, you cut him now. Like, but Kirk's time starting in Atlanta for this year is definitely done. Maybe he gets it back next year. Maybe. I kind of doubt that. Kirk's a great dude. Also, off the field, you can just tell. Like, he's such a family man.
Oh, totally.
So, he's not the guy to hold a grudge, and if the Falcons want him back, I'm sure he will be okay to keep his family in the same location and not move again.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, to be a professional player and have a move made on you like this, as we're saying, in Week 16, with a chance to go and still make playoffs and do something, that's hard to forget. That's
Yeah.
hard to forget.
Yeah. Kirk's a nice guy, but there's no doubt he's competitive as they get, you know. He's
Mr.
He's
You
definitely
like that.
upset about this, dude.
Yeah.
Like, and yeah, it's a shame because you're right. I feel like they don't flip flop. They can't go back and forth with this.
Yep.
So yeah, this is probably a done deal for the year. I don't know. We'll see what happens next year. I think a lot of it has to do with what Penix does with this moment. But yeah, all I know is they play the Giants this week. I don't know what else they have down the road. So, you know, Penix will probably run into some struggle. And yeah, we'll see what happens next year.
Maybe they're going like 200 IQ here, and they think that Penix gives them the best chance to lose, and they don't want to make the playoffs because they don't feel like they have a genuine chance to win the Super Bowl. So not even trying to like move back a few picks in the draft. Maybe that's their 200 IQ move. Prevent
I don't know.
making the playoffs.
That would be
Unlikely.
interesting. That would be interesting. You don't see teams like muddling with 500 go for the tank often, but yeah, that would be interesting.
I mean, there's just not a lot I can do to rationalize this. I get Kirk has been playing bad, but if you were going to do it based off performance, it had to be done a few weeks ago. At the same time, this could also just be Raheem Morris making a mistake and realizing he should have done it long ago and doing it now. It is his first year as an NFL coach.
Good point.
So it could possibly be just bad judgment on his part in terms of timing, realizing he maybe should have done this. Because I don't think I'm upset if they do it a few weeks ago because Kirk was playing terrible. He really was. There's no way around that.
Yeah, why do you wait till after a win? Doesn't make sense.
So it makes
I guess
no
because it
sense
was
to me.
close. I don't know.
Maybe.
They were seeing Ritter on
At
the
the
other
same-
side of the ball, and they were like, "Man, I wish we still had that guy."
At the same time, though, the Raiders' defense recently, bar last week, I think, has actually put up quite a few good games in a row.
Yeah.
So
They're scrappy. I've been saying it all year, and I was wrong all year until this moment. They're scrappy.
yeah. With that, we wrap up our recap of Week 15. Let's make some picks for Week 16. But before we do, got the recap for you. So last week, Chris picked up 2 games on me. So we are in a position where I am up 3 with 3 weeks to go. It is coming down to the wire, folks. It is close. Which, I mean, what more can you ask for? No one really wanted a blowout. As much as I would have enjoyed that, it's going to be so much more exciting that it's probably going to come down to the last week. No matter what happens in these next 2 weeks, that number can certainly move one way or the other. But I think going into the last week, both of us are going to have a chance to win this thing. and that's pretty cool.
Oh, I'm gonna make it so I have a chance. There's no way, dude. Last week, if for some reason you're up 10 games, I'm just gonna say what I think and then just say I'm going the opposite of you. I need a chance to win. Like, I'm going for the win, man.
Fair. Fair enough. Fair enough. But with that, I'm at a 66.5% success rate on the year, and Kris a 65.2. Both not terrible last week. Myself 11 of 16, Kris 13 of 16. How do we compare to the ESPN guys? We have been falling behind the past few weeks, admittedly. I think we both maybe have subconsciously been taking a few more chances, trying to get a leg up on Kris from my perspective, and Kris trying to catch up to me.
100%.
And unfortunately, we've both been taking a lot of the same chances too, and pretty consistently being wrong about them. So I think that's how we get there. But I am now only ahead of 3 of those ESPN analysts, behind 7, tied with 1. Kris looking real bleak, ahead of 1 by 1,
Jeez.
behind 9, and tied with 1. So let's see what we can do these last three weeks here, maybe make up some ground. There are a few that are real close in the middle, so we can definitely see some movement there. But with that, let's make our first pick for the week. Broncos-Chargers. Who you got?
I'm going Broncos. I just think they're the better overall team. Chargers, we said this before, too, earlier in the season. Their defense was looking really good. Their offense was better than expected, but not great. But their defense was kind of benefiting from weaker opponents, I feel.
Yep.
And it's actually really like a middle-of-the-pack defense. And Broncos, on the other hand, their offense is firing now. They've had a top 3 probably defense all year. So
Except for when they played the Browns.
Broncos. Right, that's true. But then they got 2 pick sixes, so.
They did. They did. It's hard to be mad at your defense when they score 12 points.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
Yeah, there is that. I got Broncos as well, for a lot of the same reasons you do. I just think that they're the overall better team. I agree with your take when you compare defenses. Chargers might on paper look better, but I think when you look at the matchups, who they've played, I think it's more of a 10 to 15 in the league type defense rather than top 5 like a lot of it may seem right now on paper. And as we talked about earlier, Bo Nix is firing on all cylinders here in his rookie year, and I think he really wants to make a push to make the playoffs. So I got Broncos taking this one. Up next, Texans-Chiefs. And I'm going to do something that I have not done this entire year to this point. And it is because of the Patrick Mahomes injury. I got the Texans in this one. The Chiefs have wiggle room now in the AFC. They can lose a game. They're not even tied with the second place team.
Mm-hmm.
I think the smart decision for them is to rest Mahomes in this upcoming game. So with that, Carson Wentz-led Chiefs, I got the Texans.
Yeah. So you know how I said I was 0 for 4 on Scribble Out games?
Yeah.
This is another Scribble Out game.
Okay.
I originally had Texans for all the reasons you just said, and I have since switched it to the Chiefs because I said, what are we doing here? What are we doing? And Mahomes practiced in full today.
I know.
Granted, it was a Tuesday practice, like probably pretty low intensity, all that. And I just, oh man, I was ping-ponging this one back and forth. And yeah, I can't go against them. But I think your main reason there that I really like, and if I'm coaching this team, Mahomes is definitely not playing. Yeah. You said it. You have a cushion. Like, why would you risk this guy getting hurt worse or anything else? And yeah, it doesn't matter if you lose. I mean, then you have to pretty much win out. But I mean, I haven't looked at their schedule, but there's a very good chance this is probably their toughest game remaining.
I agree.
So I think it's a game where they should rest him, but because he practiced in full, and because I made a vow to not lose any more games to you by picking against the Chiefs, I'm going Chiefs.
That's totally fair, and it did take me a while to not pick the Chiefs. But I just want to say, for the Chiefs' sake here, think about this, right? If they win week 16, 17, week 18 is a wash for them, right? So they're going to rest their starters in that week.
That's true.
Why not? Why not rest Mahomes this week? Give him that rest this week. And then he goes out there at least next week to get back into the rhythm. And then maybe you get to rest him again in week 18. Maybe your quarterback who is banged up gets 3 out of 4 weeks of rest because he'll have the bye as well as the number one seed.
True.
Don't you want to get the guy healthy? Why even, with the position that you're in the AFC, why even go out there and risk him getting hurt more? Why do it? Makes no sense to me. And they totally could. And I'll still side with my pick even if he starts because he's going to be out there hobbled most likely. And as I said earlier, yes, we have seen this man play injured and do insane things while high. But
yes.
I just got a feeling this is going to be the Chiefs' loss number 2. I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope you go for 5.
I feel like I might. And the other thing is I had Texans too, like on my mind before I even knew Mahomes was going to get hurt or anything. Because Texans defense has been looking really good. Their pass rush is good. We're talking about a hobbled Mahomes if he does play. Yeah, I mean, was a game they could drop anyway, but I've ruled it out because I don't go against them. Like, hey, I said it before, I'll say it again.
First time this year, I am picking against them.
Yeah.
I think actually week 1 I did go Ravens. I'll retract my lie. I think I did go Ravens week 1.
I did.
I
went Ravens. I went against them 4 times, I think, and I only got 1 right with the Bills. But yeah, it's tough out here, man. But they just freaking win games, whether it's the refs, whether they earned it, whether it's God. I don't know, but they win games.
That's totally fair. Totally fair. But let's move on. AFC North heavyweight matchup here.
Which one?
Steelers, Ravens. You know the answer to that question, man. Yeah. Steelers, Ravens. Who you got here?
I went Ravens again, but I don't like it. But I did go Ravens. They lost to the Steelers already. Are they going to drop 2 again? They did that last year. They might have done it the year before. It's just like, and they're at home this one. But I don't know. Now we have a team. Steelers just lost. They don't want to lose again. They have the NFC or AFC North right now. Like, they don't want to lose that lead even further with the Ravens winning last week. Like, it's a must-win for the Steelers almost, and they tend to beat the Ravens. But here I am, still picking the Ravens. Sorry, Steelers fans close to me. I'm sorry.
I did the exact same thing and went through the exact same thought process. The prevailing winning thought there was the Ravens already lost game 1, and I just think at home I don't think they're going to drop this one. But with the Steelers' loss last week, it certainly made me feel uncomfortable about picking the Ravens here. I don't like it. I'm very happy that we are on the same side here.
Yeah,
I would have been
stressing
honestly this game if we were on opposite ends. So happy to see some parity there.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's go to the other AFC North
heavyweight.
Matchup. This one is probably more properly referred to as the lightweights,
this
maybe
is a
even
featherweight
featherweights.
match.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. The Browns Bengals, and I got the Bengals here. Yeah. I mean, their offense is clicking. It always has been clicking.
I mean, we already said it. No Winston, no chance. So
that's, you know what, fair point. That wraps it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Bengals it is.
Yep. Giants Falcons. Gosh.
This is tough with
I got the
Penix being the
Falcons
starter.
here. I got the Falcons here. Even with Penix starting, the Giants looked toothless last week. They've looked toothless.
Yes.
As we said earlier, I think they're a team that is fully embracing the tank. Do they even want to win in a winnable game?
No.
Probably not.
No.
So I got Falcons.
Yeah. I went Falcons too for that reason, but I really wish the Giants would actually try because I think that's a winnable game. I mean, Falcons are really struggling. Now you got a new quarterback in the mix who also is a rookie. That would have been a fun game if the Giants, wanted to win, but they don't. So Falcons.
Yeah. Moving on. Another divisional matchup. Lots of these in the last few weeks of the NFL season here. Patriots, Bills. Pretty easy. Bills. I mean, they're cooking. Josh Allen is cooking.
Yeah. Let's hope they're
gasoline,
just getting
grease,
it out of the way now.
Kerosene, anything flammable, this guy is finding it, and it is burning right now. Even on flammable things, I think he could put on fire. So I got Bills.
Yeah. I saw them burn water once. It was crazy. Yeah. I got Bills too. Like you said, easy pick. They're just crazy hot, and specifically at home this year, they've just been absolutely insane. So yeah, going Bills.
Up next, we got Lions-Bears. Bounce back spot for the Lions. The Bears are not one of those teams with a really excellent offense that can keep up with the Lions, so I went with the Lions here.
I refer you to the Thanksgiving game. Kept up pretty good. But yeah, I went Lions. Both teams need a bounce back, but the bounce back the Bears need, that is some crazy height, man. They got to get up there.
It's bigger than a bounce they can make right now.
Yeah, correct. Yep. Yeah, I'm going Lions.
Cool. Titans-Colts. This one was a bit of a tough one for me, honestly. Especially if Mason Rudolph starts. He's operating that offense a little bit better.
He is.
I think he is. But I still went Colts here. I think overall they're still just the slightly better team.
Yeah.
Anthony Richardson's been playing better since coming back. He's definitely had some off games, but he's playing generally better. Jonathan Taylor, which we didn't even mention. We need to go on like a little probably 20-second tangent here when I mention his name. What is this guy doing? What is he doing? He had a direct hand in their loss last week to the Broncos. Long run to the end zone, dropping the ball before we got in. Come on, man. Those are the basics.
Hasn't enough people learned that mistake for everyone else to stop freaking doing it?
Yeah, it's really terrible. But back to the game picks here. I ended up going Colts.
Yeah, I went Colts too. I mean, you kind of referred to it there. They lost last week to the Broncos. Colts are still in the mix. Titans are not. Colts, need a win again. So, going them.
Cool. Up next, a non-divisional matchup.
Yeah.
Rams-Jets. I got the Rams here.
This one is kind of tough.
It was tough.
Looking at just last week's games, it's like, I mean, you want to go Jets, but yeah, and Jets are at home, but I did go Rams. They got the mini bye this week. I think they're going to get some of their guys right, get some much-needed rest, and, take on the Jets, and, they don't really scare me, but
nope.
That being said,
off.
They exactly. There's sometimes
Adams and
like
Rodgers
a time
showed
bomb going
last
off.
week. They still got that connection.
Yeah, that was Adams. Statistically, it was his second best game of his career, which is crazy to say. I did not expect that happening this year, especially considering his first few games as a Jet with Rodgers. But yeah, going Rams. Can't go against my second team here. Come on, Rammies. The division's right there. Let's get her done.
Exactly. You said it. The Rams are chasing a division.
Yeah.
So I think that really matters.
Yeah. Jets are chasing retirement home. So.
Yeah. But let's go to the Eagles-Commanders game. Who you got? I think I'm going to be surprised.
Yeah. It was tough, but I did go with my Birds. But I would not be surprised at all if the Commanders win this one. We almost always split. It's literally uncanny. It doesn't matter if the Eagles are up here, the Commanders are down here. Like, we're splitting. So I feel like if you go Commanders, which I don't know yet, but if you go that way, I'm definitely at jeopardy of losing a game here. But I did roll with my Birds. How could you go against them during this current win streak? I mean, and I'm sure you felt the way up until last week. Like, how do you go against this team with the Lions winning, 11 straight or something crazy?
11 straight.
Yeah, it's tough to do. So I'm rolling with them, but yeah, definitely a game that scares me for sure.
Yeah, I did end up going Eagles here, but I'll tell you, it sucked. Because as you said,
That makes me feel good.
The Commanders and Eagles almost always split.
Yeah,
But
and the Commanders are very good.
But they have not looked as sharp these past few weeks. And to my
Yeah.
point, and why I ended up going Eagles here, is I think if a split was going to happen, I think the Commanders were going to win the first game when they were playing much better than they
And you
are
did pick
currently.
them, if I recall.
I did
correctly.
pick them.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think this is just becoming one of those games, and it kind of like as you said with the win streak, the way the Eagles are playing right now, it just feels bad to pick against them. So
It feels wrong.
I went Eagles there. But let's move on to the Cardinals and the Panthers. I went Cardinals here. I think for about 5 seconds I thought it was going to be tough, but then I thought about it again, and then I was like, no, the Cardinals are going to win this.
Yeah. Cardinals, again, you got a team in the mix and you got a team not in the mix. So I went Cardinals, but that being said, I mean, we saw the Panthers kind of come back down to earth last week against the Cowboys. But they could bounce back because Bryce Young was looking good and until last week. And they are at home. I like that. You know I like that. But yeah, I ended up going Cardinals. They just have more to play for, and they are the better team too. So I think that's enough to, give them the circle.
Yeah. So let's move on to the Vikings and Seahawks. This one was tough. I ended up going Vikings here mostly because of Geno's leg injury. While it does seem like he may play this week, coach is currently optimistic that he will. The way he went down and was looking on the sidelines, I don't think even if he plays he's going to be 100%. And I don't think that's going to be enough to beat a Vikings team that's playing how they are this year. It's really just that simple. They're beating all and every expectation that everybody on this earth had for them.
Yes,
and
week after week, man.
Yep.
It's craziness.
So I got the Vikings here.
Yeah, this one was tough though, even still, because I just want to get screwed over by the Vikings. It seems. But yeah, Seahawks should be getting Kenneth Walker back too, I think, and that's going to help. Charbonnet's filled in wonderfully, but I think Kenneth Walker gives them a little something he can't. But that being said, I'm not going against these teams anymore. I've learned from my mistakes, and that being said, I am very glad you also went Vikings though, because this one still scares me, even though I'm going Vikings.
Oh, same. I would have been scared if you went Seahawks. I was really hoping.
Yeah, that's a scary one.
Yeah.
We're 3 for 3 on picking the same in the scary games.
Yes. Jags Raiders up next. Battle of two bad teams.
I hate
both
these.
with
They're so hard to pick.
backup quarterbacks. But I went with the Jaguars here. Mac Jones has honestly been looking quite all right at the quarterback spot for the Jags.
Yes.
He's
adding
great
some
chemistry.
juice, dude.
Dude,
He's having fun out there.
Maybe better than Trevor Lawrence. I'm not even gonna lie. I don't think that's completely out of the question.
No, that Brian Thomas Jr. connection.
That's what I'm saying. He's built a really great
it's-
Brian Thomas Jr. connection. He had a great connection with Evan Ingram when he went down. Brenton Strange came in, 12 targets, completed 11 of them to him last week.
Yeah.
So he's already got a number 2 option that he likes there in Brenton Strange.
Mhm.
I mean, that's
You got the running
probably
back
enough
committee
to beat the Raiders. Maybe
Yeah,
not enough
you'd
to beat a lot
think.
of other teams, but to beat the Raiders. So I went Jags here.
Yeah, I went Jags too. You said it. They have the better backup quarterback. If this was O'Connell playing, I maybe go different. But
agree.
Ritter is just. I mean, he's on his way out of the league, in my opinion. He doesn't have it.
I've
And
never
another
been a Ritter
major
guy.
factor is Max Crosby done.
Yep.
So I mean, and he's like the heart and soul of that team. So
Absolutely.
you take that away, it's going to be tough to win, even against a pretty crappy Jags team. All
Yeah.
said and done, but yeah, I went Jags.
Yeah. So we got 3 left. 49ers Dolphins up next. A game that we were talking about earlier. What do you got here?
Should be fun. Should be a good one. Yeah, same records. Both teams pretty much down to their last life here. And I went Dolphins. Both teams need a bounce back, too. It's very interesting. Could totally see this one go either way, but I just don't see Tua having back-to-back games like that. I think he's going to bounce back with Waddle or without. Yeah, I like the Dolphins.
I also went Dolphins here. I think in this game of 2, 5, and 8 teams...
6 and 8, I think.
6 and 8? Yeah, you're right. Can't do math. It's fine. I think the Dolphins at home, back in Florida. Tua has a bit of a bounce-back game. The Niners just don't seem to have it this year. They really, really don't. As we discussed, they're on like RB5.
Yeah.
So I think the Dolphins win this one in what will be a scrappy, close game, I think. I don't think this will be a blowout.
No. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think either way on this one. Just another toss-up game where we went the same. Damn it. Trying to make up some ground here. At least I have the Chiefs in my corner. That feels okay.
Yeah, you do. If that's our one difference and the Chiefs are on your side, you got to be feeling all right. I mean,
yeah, I feel all right.
Yeah. Bucks Cowboys up next.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that is going to be our only difference.
It definitely is, yeah. I got the Buccaneers here, obvious reasons. Anytime Cowboys are starting Cooper Rush, there's not many teams I'm going to pick over them. I mean, even went Panthers over them last week. I mean, I was wrong, but still made that pick.
I regret that one, but I can't pick them. I hate them too much. But that being said, I will give them some flowers. I think Cooper Rush has actually looked pretty good. And the last few weeks, they're kind of coming together. Their defense is getting a little more healthy, and they're making those big plays that we're used to seeing. And yeah, if it wasn't the Bucks who are really starting to cruise here, I mean, I think they gotta be 4 out of the last 5 or something. They're kind of cooking. And Falcons still right there. They know the Falcons are playing the Giants. Like, hey, we gotta freaking win this game too. Let's beat up on the NFC East together. But yeah, I think the Bucks will do it. But yeah, I think it could be closer than people might expect.
Yeah, I do agree with that assessment. I do agree. But let's go to the last game of the week. Saints-Packers.
Packers!
Yep, I got Packers. It's really... Yeah. They're the much better team.
No
Saints
Derek Carr, still no receivers, probably no Kamara, who was their last receiver, let's be real.
Yep, 100%. So yeah, I got Packers there.
Yeah, and they're playing really good football too. We
wrap up the picks. We got one difference. One difference, as you said.
One.
Texans, Chiefs. So we're either going into next week. We're either going into next week up 2 with 2. Or up 4 with 2. Let's see which way that game swings. I'm going to be very upset if we tie at the end of these 18 weeks. But good news is there's tiebreakers in the app we use, folks. We'll share them with you if they become relevant. But let's hope not. But it's going to be another fun week in the NFL.
No ties. There will be a loser.
Yeah. We wrap up another episode of Palm City Chucks podcast. This was another super fun football episode with you all. Just want to get a few things out there. We've started putting together some reels for you on Instagram, created a TikTok account, so go give us a follow on those platforms, Palm City Chucks. We've also got an X, or all those places. Give us a like, give us a follow, go check them out. And one last thing, Kris and I are going to be making a guest appearance coming up soon on a Mr. Tyler Julian's podcast, The Slanted Attic Experience. We are super excited about it, really looking forward to that conversation. We'll let you all know when that is out, but please also do go check out his channel. Pretty chill guy.
Yeah, and got some good stuff.
Also No set dates yet. We're not quite sure on when we're targeting it, but we are looking to also have a few guests on our show for you all.
Yes.
Spice it up a little bit, get some different perspectives, and we are super excited to bring that to you. So thank you again, everybody, for listening. We love you all. We love doing this. It's always so much fun. Please like, subscribe, and leave us your thoughts in the comments. And we'll be back with you next week.
All right, later, PCC.